Sometimes game developers create systems so ingenious and simple that you start to wonder why no one else uses them today. One such idea is the stuck system of Postal 2. It was implemented as a necessity to circumvent the admittedly janky physics of the Unreal Engine and its dodgy collision. This is the Postal Unstuck system in detail. What is the Unstuck system? The Unstuck system in Postal 2 detects when the player is stuck and unable to move. To prevent the player from effectively soft locking and having to reload, the player is going to be teleported out of his stuck location. This raises a few questions. How does the game know the player is stuck to begin with? How does the game know where to teleport the player? Where exactly does the game teleport him anyway? Why can doors trigger this unstuck too? And why do we get all of these weird glitches with teleports, like exploding people, teleports through walls, and random level transition triggers? This problem breaks down into two parts: figuring out if the player is stuck, and finding a place to teleport the player if he is. Let's talk about the first one. Despite being a first-person shooter, Postal 2 still renders the third-person model of the dude at all times. This is because it is needed for cutscenes, deaths, and mirrors. We can see this 3D model of the Postal dude by typing behind view 1 into the console. This 3D model is also used to detect when the player is stuck. If the Postal dude is falling, there is a falling animation. Now let's get stuck and look what animation is playing. The game detects that you are in a falling animation, but since you are not moving along the vertical Z-axis, the game knows you must be stuck in place. Simply put, the game sees you are falling, but not losing height. It will now attempt to unstick you. Crouching prevents the unstuck loop from starting. For some reason, the developers decided to hard-code this into the loop. If this happens, it's usually a soft lock, and you have to reload. Now that we know the answer to the question, how does the game know you're stuck, let's talk about how it finds a place to teleport you. For that, we have to talk about the pathing system of Postal 2. Rather than working with an F-mesh, a plane in which all NPCs can move freely around, Postal uses a pathfinding system of so-called path nodes and predetermined paths an NPC can take. With certain exceptions, NPCs will randomly walk between connected path nodes, giving the impression that they are freely strolling around when they're actually following a tightly set grid. These path nodes are useful because we can place them in spots where you are supposed to... Actually, forget I said that. Generally, we know the path node is inside the intended map. We can use these path nodes to unstuck our player. The actual unstuck system is a bit technical, but not hard to understand. First, the game saves your location data with coordinates. Let's call this one O, position. Then, the game draws a circle around you of 2048 units. Just so you get some perspective, that is about this big. The game now searches for every path node in this particular radius. For the sake of this example, let's assume that there are 3. The game will now pick a path node to start. Let's assume it's this one. Unfortunately, it is not known what determines which path node the game will pick first, but it is consistent. Now it determines the size of the vector between the path node and all position. A vector is, simply put, the distance between 2 points in a 3-dimensional space, for all you math haters out there. The size of this vector, we will now call it distance, is saved. Let's assume it is 2000 units. Here it starts to get interesting. The dude is now going to be teleported to the path node we just talked about. You don't notice these teleports because they are going by so fast. We now go over to the next path node, this one. Again, we calculate the vector. Let's say it's now 250. If this new vector is lower, it will set a new value to our variable, distance, and teleport us again. Now the third path node. Here, the distance to it is going to be larger than our distance variable, so the game will not teleport us here. After this has been done with every path node inside the radius, we will be at the closest possible path node and the unstuck is complete. What if the game doesn't find a node in 2048 units? Well, it will keep on doubling that radius until it finds one. It is worth noting that the game will save your last unstuck path node as well, so that you don't get teleported to the same node twice in a row. So that's all fine and good, but how is any of this useful to us? Well, sometimes it just so happens that the closest path node we get teleported to is on the other side of a wall, like in the Ganesh skip. This means the stuck system can be abused to teleport through walls, saving time in a speedrun. Doors are a bit weird in this regard. When adding multiplayer to the game, RWS realized that through lag, doors as dynamic objects might cause you to get stuck inside of them. This is why they implemented a simple piece of code. Get hit by a door more than 5 times and you will trigger the unstuck loop. You can accelerate the process by saving at the exact moment you're about to get hit by the door, causing the game to freeze for a second with the door stuck inside the Postal dude, which causes all 6 required collisions in a split second. Practically speaking, you're simulating a lag spike. Now that we understand these systems better, we can explain why people sometimes explode when we teleport, and we can explain weird teleport behavior. The people we sometimes see explode are people that are just really unlucky and exactly on a path node while we are being teleported there. Our hitbox gets forced into theirs, which causes them to explode. But what about these weird level teleports? You get stuck and all of a sudden you teleport out of the level? There's a simple explanation for this. This is the teleporter. It teleports you to a different level if you enter this radius. Inside of this teleporter, there are a bunch of path nodes. If you now happen to get teleported to one of these path nodes in the process of the game unstucking you and trying to find the closest path node to place you on, you trigger a level transition. Theoretically, this can work on any map with any level trigger that has a path node inside its radius. This is exciting news because maybe you casually get stuck somewhere and find the next big skip. Thanks for watching.